My name's Susie Ramroop. I'm a transformational coach focusing on mindset. What does mindset mean? It's really about shifting the way that you think so that you can find the most helpful way of getting you to your goals. Quite a lot of the time we throw obstacles in our way, and my job is to help you work out that those obstacles are usually a figment of your imagination, but always something you can do something about simply by reframing. I'm talking today about resilience. It is one of the chapters in my book, which is about to come out probably a month from now. And resilience is really important to me because quite often it's one of those throwaway comments that when you're stressed, people say, what you need is more resilience. And it's normally used in a really unhelpful way because by that time, resilience is, yes, absolutely what you need, but in my opinion, far too late to build it. So resilience, by my definition, is bounce back ability. And what I want to make the point of here is that just because it's about bounce back ability, it doesn't mean you have to go back to where you were before. If we take the times that we're in, it's tempting to cling on and cope. Whereas resilience for me is more about perspective. It's about taking stock and recalibrating and having a fresh look at a situation. When you lack resilience, what you're unable to do is think clearly. So from that basis, I prefer we think of it as perspective. And alluding to what I just said about when you need it, it's too late to build it. You really need to approach perspective with a full tank. If you think about times when you've been able to think clearly, it's because you have been probably in the best mental state you can be in. And for me, and not just only me as a coach in the marketplace, we would all say to you that putting yourself first and your self-care is a large part of that. So, if I think about my own resilience, when I started my own business, rejection for me was weighty. Rejection's always weighty, but when you're starting your business and you have no income, you have to ask people for things, it's really quite stressful. And every time you get a no, you feel like your world's fallen apart and your business will never survive. Equally, if you've applied for a job and you haven't got it, or you've had a difficult conversation at work and it hasn't gone your way, it's quite easy to take those things and think, oh no, now I've gone back to square one, is something that I hear quite a lot. When you've got a full tank and you're feeling good about yourself and you're taking care of yourself, it's much easier to look at that and use my ABC model, which is what the book is based on. You have awareness about what's going on for you. So you can look at yourself and go, okay, all that happened there was this, and looking at things really factually, understanding how the way that you think overlays what happens on there, and then taking a for you brave step towards making it count. So the purpose of resilience really is for you to get to your goals in as seamless way as possible. Obviously, it's not going to be a straight line. No stock market is a straight line. No pattern of anything is a straight line. It's made up of jags in the curve or in the upward trend, and this is exactly the same. So when you've got perspective, you can look at one of those downward inflections and say, oh, okay, right, the reason this had to happen this way was such that. So that's what I really mean by perspective. It's about having awareness. When you have that awareness, taking a small act of bravery that will help you make that into a contribution. And that means every no that you get, my perspective would be, that was probably a bullet dodged. Every time that I have been spared from a night out when someone has been cancelled, I put a thank goodness in front of it. All that is about giving me the perspective I need to continue on. And your way of doing that will work for you, but maybe you want to use those two as a starting point. The third thing I want to talk about is, what is resilience? How do you build it? But the third point really is, how do you help others build it? First of all, don't do that until you've done it yourself. So quite a lot of people go about this rescuing mission of trying to make life better for everyone else. And I honestly believe that we will end up resentful if we continue doing that, but we haven't given it to ourselves. So you've got to make sure your tank's full before you start trying to give stuff away to other people. The first thing that I believe you and other people need to build resilience is to hear it. So it might sound like what I'm saying is to, well, don't worry about that, gloss over it, get perspective. That is absolutely not what I'm saying. Part of the ABC model and that awareness is you going, okay, what's going on for me at the moment is I feel this way. And so if you're helping others with that, they primarily just need to be heard. There's no point trying to move someone on to resilience when they haven't felt heard. That to you and other people is just going to feel like a pushing down where something can't be expressed. So before you attempt to give someone perspective, acknowledge the potential pain that they're in. Otherwise, they will not see that as perspective. They will just see that as I've just been ignored and I'm not being helped at all. So, the distance or in time between, them being heard and them gaining perspective could be a chunk of time. We could be talking weeks. So I would focus on step one, let them feel heard. Step two is when they give you a signal that they want to move on. And when you have that signal, then you can start asking them questions about where are they headed. In order to make a contribution, you've got to have a focus. So when you're in emotional balance and you have a focus and you're making small acts of bravery towards that focus every day, otherwise known as a contribution, that's when you can really make it count. And when you're resilient, you can make everything count. All the rejections, all the no's, all the disappointments, all of the painful losses of relationships, all of those things will count to a better future. But if you haven't got in mind what that future looks like, it's going to be very difficult for you to have the perspective to make them count towards it. Otherwise, it just feels like you're being quite done to a lot of the time. And that's when you get to the end of the game and you think, oh, I just need some resilience. So in summary, I would say focus on you. This is the perfect time to listen and get aware of what you need. Ask yourself, what do you really want? Do you want to go back to normal after this, or do you want something else? And this is the time to start envisaging it and giving it to yourself such that you can be the leader that you and everyone else wants to see by helping others through their own struggles with resilience.